Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into something really fascinating.
Always.
Okay, perfect. Well, then let's get into it. Today we're talking about something truly mysterious. Unidentified submerged objects.
USOs.
Yeah, USOs, exactly. So, these are basically just like UFOs.
Right.
But instead of flying through the air, they're spotted going in and out of water. And for this deep dive, we're focusing on a place that's practically a hotspot for these sightings. Puerto Rico.
It's a fascinating place for sure, not just because of how many reports come from there, but also because of how deep-seated these sightings are in the history and culture of the island itself.
That's what I think is so interesting, too, is like USOs are almost like part of the fabric of the place.
Hmm.
I mean, so how far back did these sightings actually go?
Well, we're talking centuries here, like way before, we had fancy high-definition cameras or sonar.
Oh, well,
The
really?
indigenous Taino people, who were the original inhabitants of the island, have these captivating legends about strange lights and objects under the waves.
Really?
Yeah, just imagine, these stories being passed down for generations and like shaping how people view the ocean.
It's amazing how these stories, these legends, they've been around for so long.
Absolutely. And this isn't just something you find in Puerto Rico. Cultures all over the world, they have these kinds of stories about unexplained things woven right into their folklore. I think it kind of shows how curious we are as humans,
Right.
always wanting to understand the world, even those parts that seem like they'll always be a mystery.
And speaking of mysteries, some of these mysteries are still unfolding even today.
Yeah.
Like there was that 2018 sighting off the coast of Rincon, the one where some surfers captured this amazing footage on video.
Oh, you mean the one with the metallic object, like rising out of the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was seen by multiple people. And yeah, that one really blew up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you're right, the video was so clear that that kind of clarity is something we just didn't see in those older reports.
That's what makes me wonder, are we actually seeing more of these USOs, or are we just better at capturing them now because of technology?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, technology has totally changed how we see things. We've got better cameras, sonar, all sorts of new gadgets that let us see into the ocean depths like we never could before. It makes you think about what else might be down there, just waiting to be discovered.
And speaking of things lurking beneath the surface, maybe we should talk about some of the theories about these USOs. I mean, what are the leading explanations for these underwater enigmas?
Okay, so the theories are all over the place. Some make more sense than others. But let's start with natural phenomena.
Okay.
So you've got bioluminescence, which is basically when living organisms emit light.
Right.
It's pretty common in marine life, and it can create some seriously stunning visual effects that could easily be mistaken for something more, well, out of this world.
So you're saying some of these sightings could be explained away as like glowing jellyfish or squid?
It's possible. And then you also have underwater volcanic activity, which can create weird light emissions, and even cause disturbances in the water, which could lead to people misinterpreting what they see.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about some of the more, let's say, unusual explanations?
Ah, you're talking about the advanced technology theories.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, some people believe these USOs could actually be like super secret military craft, submersibles so advanced we can barely even imagine them.
Wow.
And then, of course, there's the extraterrestrial theory, which is always a fun
You
one.
mean like alien spacecraft? Yeah, I have to admit that one's always been kind of fascinating to me.
It definitely captures the imagination. But then you also have these theories that get into, well, more esoteric stuff,
Right.
things like ley lines and energy vortexes. These theories, they kind of draw on like ancient beliefs. They suggest that USOs could be manifestations of these unseen forces or energies.
Lee lines and energy vortexes. I don't think I've heard of those before.
Okay, so think of ley lines as these invisible lines of energy, almost like a grid that crisscross all over the Earth. And they're thought to connect sacred sites and natural landmarks. Some people believe these lines could act as channels for, well, unusual activity, including USOs.
Oh, so they're like energy highways for USOs.
You could think of it that way.
Hmm.
And energy vortexes are similar. They're believed to be like these swirling centers of energy
Okay.
that can cause all sorts of strange phenomena and maybe even attract or generate USOs.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We've got glowing sea creatures, underwater volcanoes, secret government technology, alien spaceships, and energy vortexes all in the mix.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a pretty wide range of possibilities.
It really is. And that's what makes this whole thing so intriguing.
Exactly.
We have all these theories, all these attempts to explain these underwater mysteries. But in reality, we're no closer to knowing what USOs really are.
The true nature of USOs is still a complete mystery.
Yeah, it seems like despite all our technology, all our theories, USOs are still this big question mark.
Yeah, absolutely are. And that's exactly what keeps us coming back for more, keeps us exploring and searching for answers.
I know, right? It's amazing to think that even with all the science and technology we have today, we're still totally stumped by these things. But honestly, that's part of what makes them so captivating. Like, there's something about the unknown that just draws us in.
I totally agree. And in the case of Puerto Rico, these mysteries, they're like deeply connected to the island's history and culture. Remember we were talking about those Taino legends earlier? Well, their stories, they offer this really unique perspective on USOs.
Yeah, you mentioned something about a creature called the Jupia, right?
Yes.
The Jupia.
What was that all about?
Well, the stories describe the Jupia as this shape-shifting being that lives in the rivers and lagoons. Some people think it could be connected to the USO sightings. Like maybe it represents some kind of ancient way of understanding these phenomena. Oh, wow. So the Taino people may have had their own interpretations of these underwater events, and these interpretations were passed down through generations.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. It's like these stories give us a glimpse into a completely different way of seeing the world, a world where the lines between reality and myth are kind of blurred.
I think that's a great way to put it. And those stories continue to influence how people in Puerto Rico view USOs today.
I see. So it adds another layer to the mystery.
For sure. It's not just about figuring out what these objects are, but it's also about understanding the cultural context.
Mm-hmm.
How do these sightings fit into the beliefs and experiences of the people who live there?
That's a good point. It makes you realize that these mysteries are more than just, scientific puzzles to be solved. They're like cultural touchstones that are woven into the fabric of a community. But let's maybe shift gears for a second and talk about the impact of these sightings.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that USOs have had a big impact on tourism in Puerto Rico. Oh, absolutely. USOs have become a real attraction for tourists who are looking for adventure, people who want a taste of the unknown. They're intrigued by the possibility of seeing something extraordinary, something that challenges their understanding of the world.
So it's not just about, like, relaxing on the beach and soaking up the sun anymore.
Well, you can still do that, of course.
Right.
But there's definitely a growing number of travelers who are into what's called ecotourism,
Hmm.
and they're looking for experiences that offer a sense of mystery, a sense of discovery. They want to visit the places where these sightings have happened, talk to locals who might have seen something, and maybe even catch a glimpse of something unexplained themselves.
It's like a real-life treasure hunt, but the treasure is a mystery itself.
Exactly. And this fascination with USOs, it has this ripple effect. It brings in money, supports local businesses, and generates interest in the island's unique history and culture.
So it's beneficial in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely.
But the impact goes beyond just tourism, right?
Yeah.
What about the scientific community? How has the study of USOs affected them?
Well, the scientific impact is pretty significant. Research into USOs has actually led to collaborations between scientists from Puerto Rico and all over the world, and they're making all sorts of discoveries, not just about USOs themselves, but about marine life, geology, and the oceans in general.
So the search for answers about USOs is actually pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge.
You got it. It really highlights how pursuing the unknown, it can lead to all sorts of unexpected discoveries and advancements in different fields.
That's incredible. It seems like these USOs are encouraging us to explore the ocean in ways we might not have even considered before.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked about the captivating history, the modern sightings, the mind-blowing theories, the tourism boost, and even the scientific breakthroughs. It seems like USOs are connected to almost every aspect of life in Puerto Rico.
They really are.
But what about the government? How are they responding to all of this? What's their take on USOs?
Honestly, the government's response has been, well, a bit mixed. Some agencies are totally open to investigating USOs. They recognize that these sightings could have real scientific and cultural significance.
So some agencies are taking it seriously, but not everyone.
Yeah, that's about right. Some agencies are a lot more hesitant. Maybe they're worried about, national security or the possibility of being ridiculed. This lack of a unified approach, it can really slow down research and make it hard to share information.
That's too bad. Can you imagine how much progress we could make if everyone worked together.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It raises important questions about transparency and the role of the government when it comes to exploring the unexplained. Like, why are some agencies so reluctant to get involved? What information might they have that we don't know about?
Oh, it sounds like a conspiracy theory.
I know, right? It really highlights the complexity surrounding USOs. You've got this mix of science, culture, politics, and the unknown all tangled up together.
Yeah, it's a real head-scratcher, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like you said, you've got the science, the folklore, government secrets, maybe even a little bit of the paranormal thrown in there. It's no wonder people have been fascinated by USOs for so long. But let's go back to those theories for a minute. Out of all the explanations we've talked about, which one do you find the most intriguing? Like the one that really makes you go, maybe.
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many fascinating possibilities. But if I had to pick just one, I think I'd have to go with the idea of underwater civilizations.
Underwater civilizations, you mean like advanced societies living beneath the waves?
Exactly. I mean, think about it. We've only explored such a tiny fraction of the ocean. It's this vast, mysterious world, right? So who knows what incredible things could be hidden down there. It's not completely crazy to think that some form of intelligent life could have adapted to those conditions, maybe even developing their own technology and cultures.
I know, it's a mind-blowing concept. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction. But then again, sometimes reality is even stranger than fiction.
It really is, and that's what I find so compelling about this idea. It challenges us to think differently about life as we know it. It forces us to consider the possibility that we might not be alone, not even on our own planet.
It makes you wonder, what would an underwater civilization even look like? What kind of technology would they have? How would they interact with the ocean environment?
Those are the questions, aren't they? Scientists and storytellers have been trying to answer those questions for ages. But just imagine for a second, underwater cities lit by bioluminescence, and maybe vehicles that glide silently through the depths. A whole society living in harmony with the ocean. It's a pretty amazing thought.
It really is. And it makes all these USO sightings even more mysterious. Like maybe we're just catching little glimpses of something truly extraordinary, something we can't even fully comprehend yet.
And that's the beauty of it all, isn't it? The unknown pushes us to explore, to question, to imagine. It's a good reminder that there's still so much out there to discover, even in a world that we think we have all figured out.
Well, I think it's safe to say our minds are officially blown. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of USOs?
I'd just say, keep an open mind, embrace the mystery, and never stop exploring. The ocean is full of secrets, and who knows, maybe one day we'll finally uncover the truth about USOs. But until then, let's keep that sense of wonder alive.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our listeners out there, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep those minds open, and remember, the wonders of the ocean are waiting to be discovered. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.